Okay, what's up? Yeah. Okay, we're in Preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. But we have only 40-something students, right? We can start. After Tzimtzum Bet, we can only begin with 80 students. Before Tzimtzum Bet, we had like almost 100, but it's like a natural evolution.
It is.
Like Darwin laws. Okay. So, Linda, what should we do? We have only, it's 50.
It's already.
Linda, I want to sing a song. Maybe we'll have like 30 more.
I could play a song, but I ain't gonna sing one.
Okay, please do.
Let me get one from Sound.
You
can start.
I thought you're gonna play on an instrument. No, if it's like
no, I don't have any.
No, if it's a recorded song, it's not the same. Okay, anybody here for the first time? Maybe we'll do a disclaimer. Somebody here for the first time?
You're still doing disclaimers?
Yeah, we do a disclaimer because otherwise.
You have one. You have one.
Oh, really? Who's that?
We got a few.
You should open the chat.
It looks like I should.
We have many first timers.
First.
What's going on? Maybe Zohar heard that we need to get to 80. And so he sent all the new students.
Oh, you're all of a sudden in a time crunch.
Yeah, no. Okay, who wants to do the disclaimer for the new students, please? Who's that? Masrina? Like, I cannot see from here.
Where are you looking? Where are you at?
Makrena, yes.
Oh.
Go ahead, please. Do the disclaimer, Makrena.
Hello, everyone. This is a very advanced course. Eran will do it shortly. And you came in the middle, so be patient. There's a lot of terminology, both in professional and Hebrew terminology. So you need to learn the new language. It's not easy. Also, the fact that Eran is not really English, profound, or how do you say that? But we're trying. I just want to say that because two of the guys mentioned that it's not a theoretical course. Now, it's not theoretical in the terms that it's unrealistic, but in the terms that it talks about reality that was before ours. So it's more like, I don't know, like, let's say theoretical physics course or theoretical mathematics course. So it's not that it doesn't have a practical implication, but it just doesn't really do the here and now in the terms that you can actually practice. That's it. Okay, I hope that's over. Not in the terms that it's some kind of, not talking about reality. It does, but just on a different level of reality. That's as far as I got.
I'm impressed.
I'm
really impressed.
See, Chris, we're doing something here, you see?
Well, whenever you hear it 1,000 times, literally, then, no, that was good.
No, you went
really
for a few months, you come back, you think nothing changed, but you see? I'm impressed. And the fact that she's the only one that didn't start from the fact that I'm not an English speaker, like, that's also very nice for my ego. Wow, that's nice.
That's good.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good week. Bye.
Yeah.
Linda, announcements. No, just kidding. Okay, do we have 80 people already?
Do we? 63?
63. Okay, Linda, we start with 60. I'm sorry. Okay, okay, so new people, really, welcome. We love you, and that's it. Like, from here on, it's the strong who survive. And we'll do a short overview of where we're at, and then we'll go and study. Okay, so Wisdom of Kabbalah in general speaks about 3 axes of reality, from above downwards, meaning how reality came to be, evolution in this world, and then ascension of a person in this world back to the spiritual world or to adhesion with the Creator. In this process, the most juicy part, or the most like what Kabbalah mainly deals with, is how reality came to be. That's most of the Kabbalistic scripts. Actually, this part is almost it's like only lately developed in Kabbalah, and also this part, which is a bit before this part, but still most of the Kabbalah scripts are talking about this part. And in this process, we talk about how reality was created until the first, like what we call 4 phases of direct light, meaning maybe before that we'll say the moment of creation is the act in which one becomes two. So you have a creature and a creator, and then you have different phases, relationship between them, until what we call the first restriction, which is the first limitation, that the creature cannot receive in order to receive, but needs to become similar to the creator. And in the attempt of doing that, the creature develops a method which is called a parzuf, meaning working with the screen, meaning working with the intention to bestow. In this form of operation, reality is divided into 5 main levels of concealments, what we call the world of Adam Kadmon, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, until the last level of concealment, which is called our world. In each world, we have 5 parts. We have 5 parts. This is not good. Third attempt, good. We have 5 parzufim, and we saw that in the third parzuf of Adam Kadmon, like after we have Galgal, Ta'ab, Sag. So here we have 5 parzufim. And in the third parzuf of Adam Kadmon, which is called Sag, or more correctly, in the second part of that parzuf called Nekudim de Sag, there is the ability of the parzuf to go below the limitation of Tzimtzum Aleph, because it doesn't have, not below the limitation of Tzimtzum Aleph, but below of the limitation that prevents it from receiving in certain vessels, because it doesn't have the light of Chokhmah. And so we have Nekudot de Sag going below the tabu there, and causing what we call the second restriction, which means that even in the intention to bestow, there are certain vessels or certain desires we cannot use. Okay, and what we saw also is that if each parzuf comes out on the reshimot, on the records, like the memory from the previous parzuf, after Nekudot the Sag and Tzimtzum Bet, we have like 2 types of reshimot. One which goes above the tabu, just like before, and allows the creation of parzuf Ma, upper Ma. And the second is what we call the reshimot together with Tzimtzum Bet, 2-1 plus the new limitation of Tzimtzum Bet, and this causes the creation of a new parzuf below the tabu, which is called the world of Nikudim. We'll see later on why is it a world, not why is it called a world and not just a parzuf, but it's called the world of Nikudim. And the next topic will be the Katnut and Gadlut. How do you translate that?
Greatness and smallness.
Okay, smallness.
Adulthood and smallness.
Adulthood and smallness of the world of Nikudim. Before we go into that, please, questions about last lesson, anything we've talked about, which is unclear from what I just described. Ta-da-dum. Ta-da-dum. Do you have a music for the waiting? Do we have questions? No. David, you don't have copy-paste homemade questions? Okay. So let's begin. So please, Chris.
Sure. Mic on, check. Rubbing against the shirt, check. We are on page 599, Kabbalah for the student, as you know. We are item 69 at the bottom. Title, the Katnut and Gadlut initiated in the world?
World.
Olam, yeah?
Yes.
Ooh, we got a typo here.
Ah, typo.
Hello.
Nice.
In the world of Nikudim. 69. Now that you know about the Tzimtzum bet that occurred in Parzuf Nikudot Desag for the purpose of emanating the 10 Sfirot of the world of Nikudim, the fourth Parzuf of Ak, we shall go back to explaining the elicitation of the 10 particular Sfirot of Nikudim. The elicitation of one Parzuf from the next has already been explained. Each inferior Parzuf is born and originates from the Masach, the Guf of the upper one, after its Izdachkut and ascension for renewing the Zivug and the Pei of the upper one. And the cause of this Izdachkut is the Bitush of Or Makif in the Masach of the upper Parzuf, which purifies the Masach from its Aviut de Guf and equalizes it with the Aviut de Rosh. In this manner, Parzuf Ab De'ak emerged from Parzuf Keter De'ak, Parzuf Sag De'ak from Parzuf Ab De'ak, and the fourth Parzuf De'ak, called 10 Sfirot of the world of Nikudim, was born and emerged from its superior being Sag De'ak in the same way.
Okay, so what does it say here?
What is it?
It says actually that he starts by saying that after you know the rule of the second restriction that was made in the Parzuf of Nekudot Desag, which caused the emanation of the world of Nikudim, which is the fourth Parzuf of Ak. So he's calling the world of Nikudim the fourth Parzuf, not Ma at the moment. And now he's going back and remind us how each Parzuf goes out or comes out from the previous Parzuf, right? So if we have Galgalta De'ak, so after Galgalta De'ak, we know that in Galgalta, just like in each Parzuf, light comes and is being rejected, and then it goes in order to bestow. And once it goes in, we have what we call Bitush Pnimo Makif, meaning the beating of the external light, the light that didn't go in, and the light that goes in, and this causes the purification, the Izdachechut of the Parzuf. This is Nekudot de Galgalta, and when the Parzuf goes up back to its source, now it loses 1 degree of Aviyut, to remind you, and now the new Parzuf Ab comes out in a new place against the Chazeh, the chest of the previous Parzuf. And again, you have Parzuf Ab, and light goes in until we have again the bitush. We have again the bitush of the external light with the internal light, and again the purification, Nekudot De'ab, and a new Parzuf. And then we have Te'amim Desag, and again the Bitush, and the purification of the Parzuf. But as we know, in the Nekudot Desag, this is Galgalta, as we know, in Nekudot Desag, something new happens. Please, item 70.
Item 70, page 600. Yet there is another issue here. In the previous Patzufim, the Masach was made only of the Rashimot De'aviut of the Guf of the upper one, during the Izdachkut of the Masach to the Pei de Rosh of the upper one. But here, the Izdachkut of the Masach Desag De'ak for Nikudim, this Masach was made of two kinds of Rashimot. Besides being made of its own Rashimot De'aviut with respect to the Sfirot Deguf Desag De'ak, it is included with the Rashimot De'aviut Dezon De'ak below Tabur 2. This is because of their mixture below Tabur De'ak, as it is written, that Nikudot Desag descended below Tabur De'ak and mixed with Zon De'ak there.
Okay, so what it says here is that not only that, just like in previous Patzufim, each Patzuf comes out on the Reshimo from the previous Patzuf, like Galgalta came out on 4-4, and Ab on 4-3, and Sag on 3-2, and the next Patzuf is supposed to come out on 2-1. And we also learned that it's not only 2-1, but if we're talking about after the second restriction, meaning that Nekudot Sag went below the tabu and were restricted there, until the place we call the Parsa. So not only that it's like 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet, but he wants to say also that there is another type of Reshimo that comes up. And that Reshimo is Reshimo of 3-4 or 4-3, doesn't really matter at the moment. And let's do 4-3. Where does this Reshimo comes from? From the mixture or the mingling of Nekudot Desag together with the big vessels of Galgalta that were there, these vessels. So of course it's not like 4-3 like here. It's not the same 4-3 like in Ab and Galgalta. It's 4-3 that comes from this type of vessels, because if we divide all of Galgalta to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the huge vessels of Galgalta, and when Nekudot Desag goes below the tabu, it mingles with these vessels and it has an impression from them. And so when the Nekudot Desag, to remind you, there's an interesting process here that when the Nekudot Desag are being purified, meaning the light leaves, the Nekudot Desag goes below the tabu. So they actually going like here, but it's on the way out. So when they go here, they have this impression of 4-3 when the Masach goes back to the Rosh. Maybe let's reread this item 70.
Item 70 again. Yet there is another issue here. In the previous Patzufim, the Masach was made only of the Reshimot De'aviut of the Guf of the upper one, during the Izdachkut of the Masach de Pei de Rosh of the upper one. But here, in the Izdachkut of the Masach Desag De'ak for Nikudim, this Masach was made of two kinds of Reshimot. Besides being made of its own Reshimot De'aviut with respect to the Sfirot de Guf Desag De'ak, it is included with the Reshimot De'aviut Dezon De'ak below Tabur 2. This is because of their mixture below Tabur De'ak, as it is written, that Nikudot Desag descended below Tabur De'ak and mixed with Zon De'ak there.
71.
71. Thus, the matter of Katnut, smallness, and Gadlut, adulthood, has been initiated here in Patzuf Nikudim. With respect to the Reshimot De'aviut and the Masach, 10 Sfirot of Katnut Nikudim emerged over them. And with respect to the Reshimot Dezon De'ak below Tabur, which mingled and connected with the Reshimot of the Masach, the 10 Sfirot de Gadlut of Nikudim emerged over them.
Okay, so it's like we have two kinds of, so we have an interesting thing here. We have two kinds of Reshimot, smallness and adulthood.
Yeah.
Okay, Each one on a different type of Reshimot. And it's like there is no connection between the two. Like the smallness comes from one Parzuf, together with the limitation of Tzimtzum Bet, and the adulthood comes from a different Parzuf, from the vessels that were, from the impression of the vessels of Galgalta. And this is something really interesting, as we'll see later on, and we'll have very interesting implications or results from that. Questions so far? We have questions?
Question is, hi, Iran, how's it going today? My question to you is, the smallest and the greatness, are they two different pasuf? And do you have a name for them?
Yeah, there will be two different parzufim. One would be Olam HaNikudim in Katnut, smallness of Olam HaNikudim, of the world of Nikudim. And the second will be Olam HaNikudim Begadlut, the adulthood of the world of Nikudim. And we'll see that they act completely different.
So they both pasufim is actually from Sag, was born out of Sag.
Yeah. They both come from Nekodot Sag, but they are on different types of Reshimot.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Rabbi's question, how come Ab or Sag don't have vessels 4-3 like Galgata?
Everyone has 4-3, because again, what is 4-3? 4-3 or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are like relative measures, okay? So you can ask how, we can say, let's say, for example, we don't have such examples in this world, but we can see also in this world that a baby has a head, hands, and legs, and his father has head, hands, and legs, and maybe the grandfather has head, legs, and hands. So each, it doesn't matter which one you take, he has the same structure, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The question is, to what extent can you use them? So if you're a baby and you're looking on your father's legs or I don't know what, or body, and you go like, wow, he's so big, and maybe you get an impression and you want to act like your father or use your legs just like your father, although you're barely walking. So this is something like we're talking here, that they have an impression from different vessels, bigger vessels, because the nature of Sag is only Oviyut Bet 2, like second degree of Oviyut. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but still its nature is like 2, okay? So it's like the baby has legs also, but he can't really use his legs. He's like a baby or a toddler or whatever.
Simon's asking, I thought we had one Reshimot. Actually, we have several.
Yeah, first of all, we've never had one type of Reshimot. In many, if you remember, we used to have also Reshimot of female and male, and both had Itlabshut and Oviyut. So Reshimot is a complicated thing. Actually, you can say that all of the information, like there are a million types of, or a lot of data goes into the Reshimot. Here we relate to two types of Reshimot that in relation again to what was before, we had only one. Again, it's not true to say that we had only one, but we've talked only about each next pasuf coming out from one single Reshimot. And suddenly we're talking about two types of Reshimot that will determine the state of smallness and adulthood. Now this is really weird, because, and it's not something that is trivial, because in our world, we are used to think in a linear way. So we're saying, you know, Simon met his wife, they brought, or spouse, they brought a child to the world. The child has like information, some kind of genetic information from their parents, and that child goes through childhood, a teenager, and being a teenager, and then adulthood, and it's like the same reshimo that comes out. Here it's something different. It's like you're saying, and we'll see that later on, it's like you're saying, you know, like Simon met his wife, they brought a child to the world, and now the child, as a child, comes out on one reshimo, and when he moves to being an adult, suddenly it takes a different kind of information. So is there a connection between the smallness to the adulthood, or does it, like suddenly it has a new type of information that wasn't before? So these are big questions.
Yaneth, Eran, there are differences in those two reshimot? Well, we just kind of talked about that, yeah.
If there weren't any differences, there would be one reshimo, okay? But here there is a qualitative matter as well. What is the difference between the reshimo? So again, you have one kind of reshimo, which is like a very basic reshimo, like 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet is something very limited. And on the other hand, you have some kind of impression from the biggest reshimo that can be, like from the biggest vessels. And this is really interesting because I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a baby of an emperor, like the Yoresh Etzer. How do you say?
An emperor?
No, Yoresh Etzer. How do you say? The son that will inherit.
Oh, yeah.
How do you call him?
Yeah. Well, how do you call that?
How do you call the son that will inherit the emperor or the king?
The heir to the throne?
Heir to the
yes.
throne.
Right.
You don't see enough Netflix, you know? Heir to the throne. Okay, so think about heir to the throne when he's like a baby. So it's an interesting state. On one hand, he's a baby, like it's a baby, yes? Or it's a small child. How serious can you take him? Or, you know, he's like a baby. You need to treat him as a baby or a child. On the other hand, you know that this child would grow to be a monster, and like your life would be dependent on that. So it's a really kind of ambiguous, like ambivalent, how do you say? Ambivalent attitude, okay? So maybe this is something similar here. On one hand, it's like a very limited parzuf, 2-1 Tzimtzum Bet. On the other hand, it has like a huge reshimot, like the greatest reshimot. So it's an interesting state. More? That's it. More questions? No. How many students? Can we start the lesson?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. Yes, please.
How is there an action that creates that second reshimot?
Yes, the mingling of that's what he said here, like in item 70, the last sentence.
This is because of their mixture below Tabul Deak. As it is written in that Nikudot Desag descended below Tabul Deak and mixed with Zon Deak there.
Okay. Francine, good. More questions? No, okay. Item 72.
72. You should also know that there are 10 sfirot of Kadnut Nikudim that emerged on the Masach are considered the core of Parzuf Nikudim. Since they emerged gradually, that is, from the core of the Masach de Guf of the upper one, the same as the 3 previous Parzufim De'ak emerged, but the 10 Sfirot de Gadlut of Nikudim are regarded as mere addition to Parzuf Nikudim. This is because they only emerged from the Zivug on the Rashimot de Zon De'ak below the Tabul, which did not appear gradually, but were added and connected to the Masach because of the decline of Parzuf Nekudot Desag below Tabul De'ak.
Okay, so these are like differences in. So again, because everything is relative, so you can say about something that is higher or better or purer than something else. Okay, So if you remember, for example, when we've talked about the Parzufim that goes out after Sag, if we're not talking about Tzimtzum Bet, like above the taboo, so we talked about the upper mind bone. And below Sag, and below the taboo, we call them the word of Nikodim in Katnut and Gadlut. So you have upper and lower, okay? So here he adds another discernment about what is like the essence, like the major part, and what is like an addition, okay? And this is very important. This is a very important discernment as well. Let's reread it again, 72.
72. You should also know that the 10 sfirot of Kadnut Nikudim that emerged on the Masach are considered the core of Parzuf Nikudim, since they emerged gradually, that is, from the core of the Masach de Guf of the upper one.
Okay, this is a very nice translation, the word core, okay? So you have like the core of the Parzuf, which is like a result of Sag. So it's Olam HaNikudim that comes out on 2-1 Tzimtzum Bet. This would be like the core, like the true Parzuf, what's supposed to be.
The same as the 3 previous Parzufim that emerged, but the 10 Sfirot de Gadlut of Nikudim are regarded as mere addition to Parzufim. This is because they only emerged from the Zivug and the Rashimot de Zon de'ak below the Tabu, which did not appear gradually, but were added and connected to the Masach because of the decline of Parzuf Nikudot desag below Tabu de'ak.
Okay, so you have the core that comes like on the genuine Rashimot, and you have the addition that would come out as a result from Rashimot that didn't come gradually, but were connected and added because of this decline, okay, because of this mingling. And this is something very important, like the differentiation between the core and the addition. So let's say I'm an Israeli, this is my core for good and for worse, and then I'm moving to the States when I'm 20, and then when I live in the States for 20 years, I get all kinds of additions. But still my core is Israeli, okay? And it's not the same. Because I went to the state, I have like different additions, but I still have my core. So in spirituality, it's a very important differentiation between what is a core and what is an addition. So for example, you would say about, there's a big question about, for example, in spirituality, the concept of a mother. Is being a mother the core, like the role, the main like attribute, or is it an addition and the core is something else? And this is very, very deep. This is a really deep discussion or issue, because in the essence, where does it come from? It comes from the fact that we as creatures in our core will always be will to receive. And what we can gain as an addition is only the similarity to the Creator. And this is something very important. This is the difference between what we call reality and a game, okay? Or play. How do you translate it? Mishak, like game or play? I don't know.
Game.
Game.
Yeah.
So you have what you are and you have what you play. And it's really, really, important thing to differentiate, because in spirituality you need to understand that you can never act according to your core when you come to correction. And this is something really interesting. Like, I'll give you an example. I don't know if you like, no offense, yes, I hope it's politically correct. But it's a good example if you understand it. If you're an Israeli and you go to the States, one of the basic things you don't like about the culture, American culture, is what we Israeli call the hypocrisy. Because Americans, they have this thing of smiling or being nice to others, even if they're not so nice, okay? No, Israelis don't have a problem. You don't like somebody, you curse him in the face. I hope it's politically correct. If not, what can they do? They'll throw me from the course. Okay.
That's part of the disclaimer too, I think.
Yeah, it's part of the disclaimer. We are covered, okay? So anyway, but if you think about it, there's a lot of advances to that, because you don't act according to what you feel or what you think about the person. You actually try to be nice because you think that if everybody would be nice and smiling outside, then it would create a better society. And it's a more easygoing society if you live in the States compared to Israel. Because in Israel, it's like a jungle. Like if you're not coarse, then many times mechuspas, how do you say?
Not course.
So how do you say mechuspas?
Keep going, I'll look it up.
Yeah, okay.
The law of the jungle, maybe?
What? No, the opposite. The opposite of like rough. Yeah, rough is a good word, right?
Yeah, it's rough, but it sounds like there's a better. All right, keep going.
Like if you're not rough, you don't survive Israel. You go live somewhere else because it's not easy to, like, everybody's like, it's like a constant war.
So tough skin.
Yeah, like tough skin.
Tough. That's a
tough.
Like rug, yeah.
So if you don't tough, you don't survive the Mediterranean, specifically Israel. But in America, you can live comfortably because everybody's on their own and everybody on the outside is nice. So that's why many Israelis like to go to America. On the other hand, it creates a lot of problems because you have a lot of tensions between people who act outside like they're happy and smiling and nice, and they're suffering like a dog in the inside. So they have a lot of psychological tension. So in Israel, if you feel worse, you just look worse. So you like your face are like hating the world and like bitter. Okay, so you don't have a problem with that, but it's worse on a different aspect. So not saying what is good and what is bad. I'm just giving it as an example that you have the core. So in American culture, I don't know if you have this, I don't know if an American who grows up in America, you should say that.
Well, ask the question, I'll tell you.
Okay, so I'm asking you, as an American that grew up in America, are you aware of these two layers as an adult? Is it something that you're aware of, or this is
not in the same degree? No.
So only when you moved to Israel you understood that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Or if anyone who's been exposed to any kind of culture.
Okay.
I don't know where you're going with this. Where are you going with this?
I'm just going. If I just want to find an example of this awareness of what is your core and what is an addition.
Right, the core addition. Yeah.
But okay. So for immigrants, it's much easier. Okay, doesn't matter where you move from, right?
I have my core, but I also stripped a little bit of the.
Yeah, because after you live somewhere else, you get some additions.
Yeah, I got some additions.
Okay, so maybe for Americans it's not a good example. It's better for Israelis about American culture, but it doesn't really matter because it's really hard to be aware of what you are if you don't have a point of view, like a contrast. Okay.
So
what
Eran, sorry. Where begin the game on the stage of the will to receive, or on the process to the will to bestow?
So this is a big question. Where does the game begins? So again, it's in the end, it's all question of what you call beginning. Because if you say that the beginning is the fact that we have a core and we have an addition, so you see that it starts from the beginning. So already here in Yehuda Ashlag, you have a core, which is 2-1 Tzimtzum Bet, and you have an addition, which is 4-3. If you're talking about a conscious action or a conscious game, this only from below upwards, okay? But Shelley is saying fake and genuine. So again, I don't want to call it fake because I don't want to call it fake because it's a good thing. Like fake has a negative
connotation.
And what I want to say is that you cannot make it until you fake it anyway, because that's like nature. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's true also for marriage. So if you have a bad time in marriage, you need to fake, like, You need to fake it until you make it. If everybody in a crisis in a marriage would say what they think and go to the end, you wouldn't have married people, because everybody like first fight and everybody goes on their way. You need to have some kind of a layer of something. Also, you know, there is a very nice TED talk about this phenomenon of, I know who it was. It was this Australian guy that became this billionaire. So he's talking in TED. Somebody sent it to me. It's a nice example about, they call it the phenomenon of somebody who feels that he's a fake, or somebody that feels that in many states in life, you feel that you're not like you're not fit to your role, or where you are.
Adapted?
Like people think of you more than you are.
Yeah.
So he's talking there how he actually, I cannot say this word, but like how he faked his way to success, and how in many junctions people thought that he's much more successful and had more solutions than he truly had. And he had
Being an imposter?
Yeah, that's
the imposter something, imposter syndrome, not imposter syndrome.
Something like that. Anyway, it's the fact that actually when people look on you on one hand, you have to act as you are that, okay? We also have it in education. If you know, we know from studies that if a teacher predetermined that a certain student is smarter than another, then that student has more chances of becoming successful, because he's being actually related to as a smarter, so it makes him work harder as a smarter student. And if somebody is like, like for example, in prejudice or all kinds of previous, like deot gdumot, how do you say?
What did you say?
Deot gdumot.
Previous preconceived notions?
Yeah, when you look on somebody and you think about him that he's like that.
Prejudice or
Yeah, so you look, so you predetermine that he's like that. You're acting towards him like he's unsuccessful or impotent or whatever, and he grows to be like that. Okay. Okay, I think it's clear. Okay, so you have the core and you have an addition, but addition is a big thing. Okay, later on we'll see that addition is a big thing, because you know, like we say about Malchut, we talk about kishutim. How do you say decorations?
Decorations. Yeah.
So in the Zohar, for example, it's a big thing talking about the decoration of the Malchut, like the jewelry of the bride, that you actually have an ugly bride, but because of the jewelry, because of the decoration, she becomes beautiful. That's why in our world we have all this jewelry, all this makeup thing, all this. Today in the 20th century, it's like plastic surgery. It doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you have all these additions, which are a big thing, because and they are even stronger than the core. Because in nature, we are all will to receive. We are really like we are really ugly matter. You have also this like now. Now we all like Hollywood movies, okay, or Disney or Grimm Brothers stories like The Ugly Duck, okay? So we all want to think that we are a swan. And this is a problem, because everybody thinks that he's a swan. That's like that's like the ego, that you're a duck and you think that you're a swan. Just nobody knows that I'm a swan. They'll reveal later on in 10 years, 20.
It's like the opposite of the example you gave earlier.
Yeah, but it's the complete opposite. We are all ducks, and we need to understand that we're ducks, but we want to be a swan, and that's what's beautiful about us, that we want to be a swan, not that we are really a swan.
That's what you said. That's a good example. You said you can never approach spirituality with your core. That's what you said.
Yeah, it's really, you know, I don't know who of you worked with politicians, but if you come to a election campaign, you heard them all the time say, you know, here we don't have ego. Everybody's working for the same goal. You know, we are all like brothers. And then it's like this is like, you're not even aware how deep in the mud. I don't know what you can say in this. It's a problem with all this. How deep in the mud are you? Okay. So it's like a lack of awareness completely. Yeah, everybody thinks he's a swan. And hopefully one day they'll reveal that I'm a duck. As my mother knows, because my mother knows that I'm a swan.
She will always see the swan.
Always. Okay. That's why in many cases you have wives blaming the mothers for their husband's faults.
Wow.
Because if your mother wouldn't bring you up as a swan, maybe you would understand how much I love you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's not go into that big traumatic thing in relationships. Okay, but everybody learned or understood the difference between the core and the additions, right?
I think so.
Good. Let's continue.
Are we on 73? We're on 73, page 600. We shall first clarify the 10 sfirot de Katnut Nikudim. You already know that following the Itpashtut, spreading or expansion of Sag De'ak, it underwent the Bitush of Or Makif and Or Pnimi on its Masach, which gradually purified it. The levels that emerged as it purified are called Nekudot de Sag, and they descended below Tabul De'ak and mingled with the Bchina Dalet there, and mingled with the Bchina Dalet there. After it completed its purification of all the Aviut de Guf in the Masach and remained with only Aviut de Rosh, it is considered to have risen to Rosh de Sag, where it received a new zivug on the measure of Aviut that remained in the Roshimot in the Masach.
Okay, so nothing new here. First, we'll clarify the 10 sfirot of Katnut of Nikudim, the smallness, meaning let's start from the first parzuf of Katnut, 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet. You know what? Now these examples reminded me, when you talk to an Israeli that goes to the States for the first time, he goes like, you know, that person really liked me, you know, he called me honey, he smiled to me, he was so nice, you know, and he doesn't get it that it's for everybody. In Israel, it doesn't go like that. Like in Israel, if somebody tells you thank you or smiles to you, he's like really likes you. Okay?
Yeah. It's like, wait a
And
second.
then-
You go home
and
and you tell your wife about it later. Hey,
Yeah, and
wait a second.
you go to the States, it's so nice. Like I remember when we were, and the souther you go, it's the nicer, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because everybody calls you honey, smiles to you, what's up, you know, cutie, and you feel like you're at your mother's place again.
Yeah. Southern hospitality.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so there are advantages for everything. On the other hand, if you interpret it wrong, it's a problem.
What do you mean?
The French
That
are,
if you die in the street and everybody would come and help you, it doesn't work like that.
the French are the worst.
What?
The French are worse than Israel.
Simon, the moment you joined the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah, I decided not to talk about French people, okay? Let's not go there. We respect every nationality, okay? No, but you can say that French are worse, just like I can talk about Jews. But if we change places, you know, it's a big problem.
We are worse than you. Come on.
Anyway, yeah, French are worse in many. Okay, let's not go there. But yes, but in Israel, but the chances in Israel, if you get robbed in the street or you get hit by the car, are more, like statistically, are more people will come. More people will come and stop and help you than in places that.
Right, because I already smiled today. I don't need to help this guy.
Okay, let's go back to the material. It's a funny, it just reminded me of many, because when you're an immigrant and you have two cultures, like you're easily confused or mistaken about the true, about the core behind the addition.
Right, there you go.
Okay. Like in Israel, if somebody shouts at you, it doesn't really mean that he hates you.
Right. Like, that takes a while to
you shouldn't take it personally. I remember when my wife, she came from Germany before I got married. In the first times that people screamed at her in the street, she was like, she took it personally. She was like, wow. Now she screams back. She
What? What line? What line am I standing in?
Yeah,
at the
what
store?
line, you know? Oh, it's funny, all these things. Doesn't matter. Okay, let's go back to 73.
All right.
So read one sentence and we'll analyze it.
Sure. 73. Can you hear me? Because I almost ripped out this microphone. Does this sound, is this clear? Okay, good. 73. We shall first clarify the 10 sfirot de kadnut nekudim.
Okay, so first we start with this, with the first Rishimot.
You already know that following the itpashtut of Sag De'ak, it underwent the bitush of Or Makif and Or Pnimi on its masach.
Okay, so just when Sag, when the light went in, it had a bitush and it starts to purify.
Which gradually purified it. The levels that emerged as it purified are called Nekudot de Sag.
Okay, we know that the levels that go, that the light goes in on its way out are called Nekudot.
And they descended below Tabor De'ak and mingled with the Pchina Dalet there.
Okay, just in Sag, not like in Nekudot de Ab or Nekudot de Galgalta. Nekudot de Sag went below the Tabor because they can, and mingled with the Pchina Dalet, with the vessels of 3-4 of Galgalta, with Nei De'ak. It's different names for the same vessels.
After it completed its purification of all the Aviut de Guf and the Masach and remained with only Aviut de Rosh.
Okay, so when it purified completely, it went back to being a black dot.
It is considered to have risen to Rosh de Sag, where it received a new zivug on the measure of Aviut that remained in the Rashimot and the Masach.
Okay, now it will have a new zivug, but now it will have a zivug on this Rashimot, 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet, and not just 2-1. 74.
74. And here too, it is considered that the last Pchina of Aviut de Pchina Bet, that was in the Masach, completely vanished.
Okay, so we have Rashimot of 2, the Aviut that completely vanished, and now we are left with 1.
Leaving only the Rashimot de Itlabshut.
Okay, so now we have only Itlabshut of 2.
Thus, nothing was left of the Aviut but Pchina Aleph.
1.
Hence, the Masach received 2 kinds of zivugim in Rosh de Sag. 1. Itkalelut of Pchina Aleph de Aviut within Pchina Bet de Itlabshut.
Okay, so now he's going even deeper in the resolution, and he's saying now, even in 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet, these are actually 2 kinds of Reshimot, okay? It's not only 1. So, again, we have 2 in general, 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet and 4-3, right? But even in 2-1 plus Tzimtzum Bet, we have 2. Why do we have 2? Because if you remember, we have the Reshimot of the male and the female, right? You remember in the Parzufim that the Itlabshut is incorporated in the Aviut, and the Reshimot of Aviut is incorporated in the Itlabshut. Do you remember that? Okay, so this is what he says. So this is what he says here, again.
Again. Itkalelut of Pchina Aleph de Aviut within Pchina Bet de Itlabshut.
No, again from hands. From the, like a bit backwards.
Thus?
Does, not hands.
Okay. Thus, nothing was left of Aviut but Pchina Aleph. Hence, the Masach received...
it's hands, you see.
Oh, that hence, right, gotcha, sorry. Hence, the Masach received 2 kinds of zivugim in Rosh de Sag. Itkalelut of Pchina Aleph de Aviut within Pchina Bet de Itlabshut, called Itkalelut of the female Rashimo and the male Rashimo, produced a level at nearly the degree of Bina, which is the degree of Vak de Bina. This is called the Sfira Keter de Nekudim.
Okay, so the Reshimo, the Itkalelut of the Aviut 1 in Itlabshut 2, this is called the incorporation of the female in the male. If you remember, this is called Itlabshut. This is called the Reshimo of the male. We don't have a Parzuf going out of it. Only Rosh in approximation to the previous Parzuf, if you remember. So it's something which he calls Vak de Bina, something which is like 2, or a portion of 2. It's not like the genuine 2, okay? So on the incorporation of the Nekeva and the Zachar, we have what we call a Keter, Rosh of Keter. It's a rosh, it's not a goof. Yes.
Number 2. התקללות of the male with the rashimo of the female. The rashimo of Bchina Bet Lapshut and Bchina Aleph Da'avirut produce the level of Ziranpin, considered vak without a rosh, called Abba Ve'ima de Nikudim, back to back.
Okay, so in the incorporation of the male in the female, 2 into 1, what in previous Parzufim allowed the creation of the body of the Parzuf itself. On this incorporation, we have a second rosh, which is called Abba Ve'ima, mother and father. These are just names, Keter, Abba Ve'ima, Abba Ve'ima, and now they are in a state which is called back to back. Later on, we'll understand that. But what I want to say so far is just like in Galgalta, if you remember, in Ab. Also in Ab, we had the incorporation of the female in the male, and there was no Parzuf coming out of that. That was only Rosh of Zachar, approximation to Galgalta. And later on, we had the incorporation of the male and the female, and from this Rosh, we had actually Ab spreading. Also here, only here we have Reshimo together with Tzimtzum Bet. So from the incorporation of 1 into 2, we have what we call Rosh of Keter, that nobody comes out of it, no execution. And from the incorporation of 2 into 1, we have the Rosh of Abba Ve'ima that will have an execution coming from it soon. Okay? But you see so far that we have 2 types of Rashim. Yes.
These 2 levels are called Gar de Nikudim. That is, they are considered 10 Sfirot de Rosh Nikudim, since each Rosh is called Gar or Kachab.
Okay, we call each Rosh Gar or Kachab. That's a name, like the first 3, and this is called the Rosh. And that's why these 2 together are called the Rosh of Nikudim. And they are actually also divided into 3 parts. We'll see later on.
But there is a difference between them. Keter de Nikudim, which is at the male level, does not spread into the guf and shines only at the Rosh. Only Abba Ve'ima de Nikudim, which are the female level, called 7 lower Sfirot de Nikudim or Chagat Na'i de Nikudim, expand to the guf.
This is a mistake in the translation if it's translated like that.
Wait, let me read it again. You tell me. Okay.
And there's a difference
between them. Keter de Nikudim, which is at the male level, does not spread into the guf and shines only at the Rosh.
Okay, so this we know. The Keter shines only in the Rosh. The Rosh of Zachar doesn't have implications in the execution.
Only Abba Ve'ima de Nikudim, which are the female level, called 7 lower Sfirot.
So this is wrong. Only the Abba Ve'ima de Nikudim, which are the level of Nekeva, of female,
okay.
only this Rosh spreads to the Guf, and the Guf is called 7 lower Sfirot or Chagat Ne'i de Nikudim. Not the Rosh De'ima is called. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't know how to make a correction here with that.
Anyway, it's a mistake in the translation. The lower 7 the Nikudim or Chagat Ne'i de Nikudim are not the Rosh of Ima. They are what comes later on. The body would be called like that. And that's why he says that it's called the lower 7 Sfirot, because he just said that the Rosh is called the first 3, and then in the body you have the lower 7, or what we call Chagat Ne'i. Okay, so I think they made, like in the translation, that's translated, or if I understand from what you read, that you can understand that the Rosh De'ima, the Rosh the female Rosh can be called the lower 7 Sfirot. That's incorrect. The Guf could be called the, see? she's alone, spreads to the goof, which is called the lower seven sefirot. The goof is called lower seven sefirot. See what I'm saying?
Oh, here it says it's called the seven lower.
Okay.
I see how you could get it confused. Yeah, that's
Okay,
confusing.
maybe it's in the way you read it, but pay attention to that. Okay, it's the goof that can be called the lower seven sefirot. 75.
75. Thus, there are 3 degrees, one below the other. What is he talking about? One below the other where? Where's
here in the Olam HaNikodim in Katnut? Now we have 3 levels. What are the 3 levels? The first Rosh, which is called Keter, the second Rosh, which is called Abba Ve'ima, and the Guf, which is called the 7 Sfirot. Okay, until the Parsa.
There are 3 degrees, one below the other. Keter the Nikudim with the level of Vak Debina.
Okay, Keter the Nikudim that has actually a Oviyut of 2, because it came from 2 of Itlapshut.
The level of Abba Ve'ima the Nikudim, which has the level of Zerampin.
Okay, so the Abba Ve'ima the Nikudim, which are on the level of 1.
These are both considered Rosh.
Yes, there are 2 together called the Rosh, the Gar of Nikudim.
Zat de Nikudim, Chagat Naim, considered Guf de Nikudim.
Okay, and this is the Guf, the 7 lower Sfirot, which are called Chagat de Nikudim. Okay, so far we talked about the Olam HaNikodim, the world of Nikodim in Katnut. Okay, and how it came to be. Questions so far?
So I'm missing the reading, Aaron. Those 2 Reshimot, Keter and Aviyai, were born because of this mixture that will happen below the Pasa. Am I correct? Or they were there before?
No. Again.
Sorry.
Keter and Abba Ve'ima are 2 levels of the Rosh. Okay? So if you remember, when we zoomed in to the Parzufim of Galgalta and Ab and Sag, we also saw there that each Parzuf had 2 kinds of Rashim. You remember that?
Yes.
One Rosh was from the incorporation. Let me remind you about the example of the restaurant, okay? So the Reshimo of Itlapshut is how much money I had yesterday or what I ate yesterday.
Yes,
and the Reshimo of Iyut is how much money I have today. What can I buy in the menu today? You remember this example? So
Yes.
we said that there are 2 kinds of calculations. There is one calculation that I do with the money I have today, what I could have bought if I was in yesterday, or how I wished to be like I was in yesterday, okay? So this is like the Rosh of the female, what we call, the Rosh of the male, what we call. And another calculation is how can I maximize what I have today, okay? With the Reshimo of Aviyut, what do I have actually today? And this would be called the Reshimo of the female. And when I go to eat, that's a result of Reshimo of the female, because I did the calculation of what I have now, okay?
Okay.
Not with the approximation of what was. Okay, so far so good?
Yes, so far so good.
Okay, so in this Parzuf that comes out, the new Parzuf that comes out, which is called Olam HaNikudim in Katnut, we have the same principle, just different names, okay? Different technology, but same principle, okay? The Reshimo, the Itlapshut incorporates in the the Reshimot of the Aviyut incorporates in the Itlapshut, and we have the first Rosh, and then the Reshimo of the Itlapshut is incorporated in the Aviyut, we have the second Rosh, and then we have the body. That's it.
Okay.
3 parts of this Olam HaNikudim. Let's not go deeper than this. Just understand it mechanically at the moment and the terms.
Nadav is asking, can we say that Abba refers to in order to bestow and Ima in order to receive?
I wouldn't go there at the moment.
Ken is asking, so Abba Ve'ima is Hab? Together they are kahab.
Yeah, you can say that Abba ve'ima is like Chochmah and Binah, yes. And the first gar are always kahab. That's it. More questions? Okay, let's continue.
76. No, that by Malchut's ascent to Binah, these 2 degrees of Nikudim split into 2 halves upon their exit, called Panim, face, and Achoraim, back.
Okay, more terminology. So he says that after Tzimtzum Bet, when the Malchut limits the Binah, now each Sphira, each Partzuf, each Rosh, doesn't matter where you want to talk or what you want to talk about, now it's being divided into 2 parts. The part that we can use until the Parsa, this would be called face, and what we cannot use from the Parsa downwards, this would be called back. Okay, so he adds more information. Face and back.
Yes. This is so because since the zivug was made at the Nikvei Enaim, there are only 2.5 sfirot at the Rosh Galgata, Enaim and Nikvei Enaim. That is Keter, Chochmah, and the upper half of Binah. These are called Kelim Depanim.
Okay, so again, this is the same as saying Tzimtzum Bet. What is the implication of Tzimtzum Bet? What does it mean to be under Tzimtzum Bet? Is that in each Partzuf, okay, let's take the Rosh of any Partzuf. Now in this Rosh, you cannot do a calculation or use all of the Partzuf and do the Zivug in the Peh. But now the Zivug must be a Nikvei Enaim, if you remember. And so we divided each Rosh now to what we called Galgalta Enaim and the Chap, meaning 2.5 Sfirot, what it says here, that are called Kelim Depanim, and 2.5 Sfirot, which are called Kelim Deachor, which you cannot use after Tzimtzum Bet.
The Kelim Deachap, which are the lower half of Binah, Zirampin and Nukva, emerged from the 10 Sfirot de Rosh and were considered the degree below the Rosh. Hence, Kelim de Rosh, which departed the Rosh, are considered Kelim de Achoraim. Each degree was split in this manner.
Now, this is a very, very important thing. We'll see it in the next topic when we'll talk about raising of man. I don't know if I want to complicate you. Okay, I'll open a window. If you don't understand it, forget about it, okay? So if somebody wants to go and take coffee, do it now, okay? It's like a commercial break. For those of you who want to listen, bear with me. And maybe it will give you another angle on it. Until Tzimtzum Bet, what was the connection between the upper and the lower? The upper finished the action of the Partzuf, it went up with the Reshimo, and then we had the lower Partzuf on the next Reshimo. Correct? Correct. That was the rhetoric question. Good. What did it give us? It gave us that, if you remember, what it gave us is that if this was Reshimo 4-3, and this is 3-2, if you remember, it gave us that if we go back from below upwards, and we ascend back, in each degree, we have a certain portion of Reshimo, some kind of memory from the upper degree. If you remember what we talked about, the Markov chain. So if I'm in state X, and I realize that state, I have in the degree of X itself, I have some kind of memory from X plus 1 or X minus 1, depends how you want to look at it. 1 degree above X. And if I realize X plus 1, in it already, in that degree, I have a memory of the next degree, X plus 2. If we wouldn't have this connection, we couldn't go from one level to another. We would just stay in that level, just like a cat. I am on a level of a cat. I cannot be a human because I need some kind of connection to the higher level. I need to have it in potential. Otherwise, I cannot grow to that. So even though the 1-year-old cat is much more developed than the 1-year-old human, still that 1-year-old human has a potential, has a memory to become more than the cat. Okay, that was the connection we had between upper and lower until Tzimtzum Bet. Now in Tzimtzum Bet we have an addition. We have something greater in the connection between the upper and the lower. What happens now in Tzimtzum Bet is that if each degree, as we've talked, was one above the other, just like a chain, now when we can use only half of the degree, because of Tzimtzum Bet, we can only use the kelim of panim, only part of the face. What happens to the rest, to the lower part, to the achap, that we cannot use? So something really interesting happens to the achap. We'll see that later on. What happens that it falls to the lower degree because it's unused. And so we have a completely new connection between upper and lower, that the lower part of each upper is in the upper part of each lower. And so we have something like this. This creates a bigger part of connection, or of like a bigger area of similarity between the lower and the upper. See what I'm saying? If you understood that, good. Because this is a big advantage, or something that Tzimtzum Bet gives us. If you didn't understand that and it didn't help you, doesn't really matter. But how does it connect to what we talked now? If you took a coffee, come back now. Good. So how does it connect to what we talked so far? That in Katnut of the world of Nikudim, actually the achap of the Keter is in Abba Ve'ima, and the achap of Abba Ve'ima is in the body. Okay, so these are like partial kelim. Each one of them is only a Galgalta Einayim. That's why it's called Katnut of Olam HaNikudim. Katnut because each one uses only Galgalta Einayim. Okay. Okay.
So would you say, I'm sorry to interrupt again, Aaron. So would you say this Reshimon is only bestow in some sense? Because Ahab is, from what I've learned, is most like a reception. That's why it falls back below the parsa. Am I correct? I'm assuming right now, so I'm not saying.
Wait. What's below the parsa? We're not below the parsa. We're below the tabu, not the parsa.
Tabu. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry. The Ahab, which
So
is reception.
You're asking why this parzuf comes out below the tabu?
Yeah, why? But my question is like, are they vessels of bestow?
Everything is vessels to bestow. You don't have any vessel which is not bestow. If it's reception, it doesn't exist here. It's below the siyum.
I think it means
Okay.
in order to bestow.
Yeah, everything is in order to bestow. If it's in order to receive it, if it doesn't have a masach, an intention, we're not talking about it. It's unused.
Okay.
You cannot use it, okay?
Okay.
We're just saying in the action of bestow, what can you use and what not, okay?
Okay. In the
So-
action of bestow. Okay, I got
So
it.
if you can receive in order to bestow, then you're above the tabu. If you can only bestow in order to bestow, you're between the tabu to the parsa. And if your only connection to bestow is the fact that you nullify yourself, then you're between the parsa and the siyum, okay? But this is like a general question. It's not, now we're more into specifics. More questions?
Yes, I have one, Iran. If the ehap, which is the lower part beneath the Gagalta Anaim, if that falls down, those are vessels that we can't use. So what good is it if it falls down? How is that helping me?
We'll see later on. We'll see later on, but we'll see later on, okay? I don't want to go into that, but I want to give you...
Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, let's... yeah, let's wait with this question, okay? I don't want to add more here. More questions?
So is this the birth of Galgal to Enain and Ahab right here?
No, the birth of Gagat Anaim of Ahab, if you're saying where does this division starts or begins, it's in Tzimtzum Bet, from the moment of Tzimtzum Bet. This is the first Parzuf that comes out under this limitation, okay? So this is the first Parzuf that actually is divided to Gagat Anaim and Ahab. More questions? Okay, I know it's a lot of information that he adds in each item, but try to hold to the general picture. 77.
77. It follows that there is not a single degree that does not have panim and achoraim.
Okay, because after Tzimtzum Bet, each degree is divided to Gagal Ta'anaim and Achab.
Sorry about that. That's my bad. That's on silent, actually. This is because of the achap of the male level. The keter, the nikudim, emerged from the degree of keter and descended to the degree of abba ve'ima, the nikudim, the female level.
Okay, this is what I said. That keter here is only in Gagal Ta'anaim and its achap are in abba ve'ima.
And the achap of the female level, abba ve'ima, the nikudim, descended and fell to the degree of guf, the degree of the 7 lower sfirot, Chagad, Naid, and Nikudim.
Okay, so the Achab of Abba Ve'ima fell to the guf of Nikudim.
It turns out that Abba Ve'ima comprise 2 pchinot, panim, and achoraim. 2 pchinot, panim, and achoraim. Within them are the achoraim of the keter degree, that is, the Achab de keter, and atop them clothe the kelim de panim de Abba Ve'ima themselves. That is, their own galgat einaim and nikvei einaim.
Okay, so you see what's so special after Tzimtzum Bet? That now we have this level which is called Abba Ve'ima. Let me draw it here. If I draw keter, so let's say that this is keter. So only galgat einaim of keter is used, and its achap fell to Abba Ve'ima, correct? Now let me draw Abba Ve'ima. So only the Gagal Ta'anaim of Abba Ve'ima are used, and the Achab falls, into the guf. And then we have the Gagal Ta'anaim of the guf itself. So what does it say here? Please reread the last sentence, and we find that Abba Ve'ima.
And it turns out that Abba Ve'ima comprise 2 pchinot, panim and achoraim. Within them are the achoraim of the keter degree. That is, the achab de keter, and atop them clothe the kelim de panim de Abba Ve'ima themselves.
Okay, so the pnimiut, the internality, is the achab of keter, and on them clothes the galgal ta'anaim of Abba Ve'ima.
That is, their own galgat einaim and nikvei einaim.
Okay, so first of all, this is really, really nice, okay? I don't want to go into that, but think about it. It's really deep that the internality is the unused part of the higher degree. and the externality, it's like their own Gagalta Einayim is actually the externality. It closes on it. This is really interesting. The second thing you can see that we start to have in each degree, in Abba Ve'ima, for example, each degree can become like a vessel, like a, not like a vessel, more like a pipe, because it can hold inside of it part of the upper. See how Abba Ve'ima are built. In the Gagalta Einayim, they are connected to Achab the Keter, and in the Achab, they are connected to the lower degree. See what I'm saying? Now maybe we go to Miranda's question. Think about what is the difference between a world when I bring a child to the world, I die, and the child grows on its own. Then to a world that I bring a child to the world, he grows next to me, and then I die, and he goes on. To a world in which even the grandfathers and grandmothers survive, and so you have 3 generations go simultaneously. And you have a middle generation that connects the elders and the youngers. There's a lot of implications to that, but it's a very good example, so think about it. Let's finish.
Also, Zat, the Nikudim, comprise Panim and Achoraim, the Kelim, the Achoraim, the Abba Ve'ima, which are their Achap, are within the Zat, and the Kelim, the Panim, the Zat, clothe them from without.
Okay, so also in the Zat, in the lower 7, in the Guf, the internality is the Achap of the upper one, and the externality is the Gagalta Einayim of its own, which is really interesting. I'll say something. Maybe think about it. If you look on reality like this, in relation to what we've talked in the beginning of the lesson, so you can say that actually the core of each degree is the uncorrected will to receive of the upper level. And the addition is the corrected state of the current level. And this is really interesting, because we are used to think of ourselves in an egoistic way that the core is the point of the self. And that's completely an illusion. The core of our core in each degree is the uncorrected ego inside of us, which is not ours. It's the uncorrected ego of the upper degree, and we are given it to work with it, and this is our core. And what is the addition in each degree? The addition in each degree is the corrected intention in our current state. And why is this so innovative or like out of the box thinking? Because it means that the true essence of each degree is not what we corrected in it, but what we revealed that is uncorrected yet. And this is a completely different way of looking on life. Not what did I attain, what is the opportunity I'm given to work with from here onwards. That's not nice for the ego, because in the ego we really like to sit back, think of what we attain, and that's it. But actually life is about what opens up as an opportunity. But let's not go into that now. Please finish.
78. Okay, 78. This issue of the division into 2 halves made the degrees of Nikudim unable to contain more than Pchinat Nefesh Ruach, meaning Vak without Gar. This is because each degree is deficient of the 3 Kelim, Bina and Zon. What? 3 kelim, bina, bina and
Bina,
zon.
zeranpin, and
Zeranpin
nukva,
and
3
Bava.
kelim.
Okay. Hence the absence of lights of Garder, being neshama chaya yechida.
Okay, so because we have only half of the kelim, we have in each degree only galgal ta'anaim, only the lights of nefesh ruach, and we're lacking the achap, bina, zeranpin, and nukva, which means that we're lacking the lights of neshama chaya and yechida.
Thus, we have thoroughly explained the 10 sfirot de kadnut de nekudim, which are the 3 degrees called Keter, Aveima, and Zat.
That Keter and Abba Ve'ima are the 2 Rashim, and Zat is the body.
Each degree contains only Keter, Chokhmah, in Kelim, and Nefesh, Ruach, in lights, since the Bina and Zon of each degree fell to the degree below it.
Okay, because the achap of each degree fell to the degree below it. And although the title was Katnut and Gadlut in the world of Nikudim, you see that he covered only the part of Katnut, and Gadlut will move to the next topic, okay? But so far we clarified the Olam HaNikudim of Katnut, which is the first parzuf that came after Tzimtzum Bet, under the limitation of Tzimtzum Bet, on Reshimot 2.1, and we saw that this parzuf is really interesting in 2 aspects. First, it actually has a place for the 2 Rashim. They are important here, not like before when we mentioned Galgal Ta'ab Sag, they were less important. And the second thing which is interesting here is that after Tzimtzum Bet, each degree fell to the lowest degree, and so we have a completely different connection now between the upper and the lower. Okay. Again, think about a world in which I would just leave my son something written the moment he is born, like you have Gamal Shlomo. How do you call this insect?
Whoa, what?
You have this insect that after the male and the female mate, they couple. Like
the praying mantis, the one that has these little guys.
Yeah. So she cuts his head, right?
Yeah.
And eats him.
Right.
So if I would die the moment my son is being conceived, like this, what do you call him?
Praying mantis.
Praying mantis, and I would leave my son only this record, it would be a completely different world than the fact that my son lives some years next to me and experienced reality when I'm in it. And it's a completely different world when we have 3 layers, that my son not only have me, but also has his grandfather to take allowance from, and they use him in no other egoistic ways that I wouldn't permit, okay? And have all these candies and other things. So I'm just giving it as a joke, but it's really deep if you think about it. And we'll see later on that it's a completely different connection.
Ivan, can I make your question?
It's a completely different connection between them. Yes, it's like I don't want to go into these examples because they might be unpolitically correct, but think about a culture in which males and females don't connect, only for sex. So you have a very male society, a very female society, even a husband and wife, they don't sleep in the same room. They just come together for the physical action, and then you have the small children living with the mothers until they grow, the boys, they move to the parents, the women stay there. Or you have a society in which you have a lot of combined, like mutual area between male and female, that they actually are like one. So the connection is completely different because you have intermingling of vessels, just like with the grandfather and the father and the son. So you need to understand that everything is about connection. All reality is about connection. All the perceiving of our reality is according to the connection of the vessels. So it's very important, like these types of connections. Yes, question? Not only Jewish Orthodox. Actually, I think that Jewish Orthodox are more corrupted in late years in this matter. But if you think about tribes, so you have a lot of ancient tribes that actually live like that. So you have a tent for the women and you have a tent for the male. Yeah, like there are a lot of examples for this societies. Okay.
Thank you,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
I said thank you.
Thank you is not a question. Thank you too.
Does Keter has less or panini than Avi?
I said thank you because we're out of time. That's, you see, if you were Israeli, you would say what's going on here, like you're 1 minute after time. You say thank you. Okay, now but I understood you. So, okay, out of time.
Okay.
Okay, Linda, please.
Okay, the World Kabbalah Convention 2021. We have a special schedule this week. No grad lesson on Thursday, no young groups on Saturday, no Sunday meeting with friends with Gilad. All the information on how to connect and participate is on the grad environment site. Make sure to register, read, and prepare for the convention.
What's the point of negative announcements? We have no grad class, we have no young group, we have no money, we have no light. Like, what's the point of saying that? Linda, you should focus on the positive. What do we do have? If we don't have
I
announcements.
don't write, Zohar writes these, I don't write these.
Okay, what's the point? It's like you have all these signs. No children in the park, no dogs, no camping, no. Tell me what I can do, not not a lot of options. Okay, people, I tell you what, stay safe, be happy, see you next time. Join the convention if you can. Bye-bye.
Bye, shalom.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.